Hello, and welcome. This is Adrian Gold, and today I'm excited we're going to talk about the War of 1812 and Madison. This was actually a little story for me because my little bit of my shock was when I discovered a few things. Madison had no interest in renewing the charter of the First Bank of the United States. The First Bank of the United States was created by Alexander Hamilton in 1791 with very heavy investors by English. The most powerful English banker at the time were the Rothschild, and so they did have a real grave concern that charter for the bank would be automatically renewed. But Madison had no interest. He didn't like Hamilton. He didn't like his policy. And so he decided, I'm not going to, I think around 1811, decided I'm not going to renew the charter. And so the First Bank of the United States, the central bank of the United States, just petered out, and investors lost a lot of money, and especially the big investor. The bigger you are, the more money you would lose, because now money would not flow directly from the coffer of the government into the bank, the central bank. So the Rothschild were furious and said, basically, bring these guys back to colonialism. Neither the English really nor the Americans wanted a war. I believe that the Rothschild decided, and you know what, we got to get these people back to being a colony and just listen to what we say and follow order. And so the War of 1812 started. The debt of the United States doubled or tripled. But another fact that I learned is, beside the fact that the Rothschild really were furious about America taking liberties to doing such acts as canceling or not rechartering the bank that he had invested so much in, I wanted to include this fact, is there's a General Major Ross. He's in battle north of Washington. And Madison, the big tough guy, decides, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to straighten this battle. Well, he gets his butt kicked, and runs away, not back to Washington, but west and northwest, around 50 miles, with his troops and his soldiers. So these are the facts that I had. There's a battle. Madison wants to be the hero, gets his ass kicked, runs away north, and what happens next is Major General Ross decides, hey, I'm going to go to Washington and pillage, because basically all the wars and battles were about pillaging and stealing and so on and so forth. Because he finds that there's really no treasures. So he gets to the White House, which was under a different name at the time, and burns it, and then he burns the treasury, which had no money in it. He burns the Capitol, and then decide, we're going to steal those two boats that they've been building that are just about to be completed, and gets there, and the boats have been burned by the Americans. Decided, we're not going to give them this treasure, and they burnt their boat. Another fact that I discovered is they had not only all the city on fire, but it started pouring. Almost an hurricane that fell on Washington and soaked and actually made it worse, because all the wood just became mud, and it was terrible. And the last fact, which is, that I discovered, that General Ross decided, I didn't get the treasure I wanted. I'm going to go to Baltimore, and I'm going to go and get what I deserve, and I'm going to loot the city. And he was right. There was much more treasure in Baltimore than in Washington, which was at the point really new. It was a capital, but it was really new, and there was not much going on. It was, fields with big buildings and so on. But Baltimore was actually a city with, treasures and so on. So he heads north, and two snipers follow the British and shoot Major General Ross and kill him. And I was like, okay, these are all the facts that I have. How am I going to tell the story? Because it's a lot of evidence. So I decided to have it told through a young man who works at the Library of Congress. They receive a letter from the lieutenant or the aide de camp of Madison. And as Madison comes back to Washington and realize, oh my gosh, this city has been destroyed. Also realized, because at the time they had been fighting and fighting, they were almost bankrupt. Madison didn't know what to do. And he had sent emissaries in Europe. Anyway, they were negotiating with the British, and an illustrious group of people, including Gallatin, who was the Secretary of the Treasury after Hamilton. And I believe that Madison realized this is about the second bank of the United States. And I believe we need to have a central bank. And he hates himself because he didn't like Hamilton, he didn't like the ideas of Hamilton, but they're in such debt. All the creditors that were lending money for the war were basically now reneging and didn't want to lend money. They were basically just about bankroll, and he decided, okay, we're going to negotiate in good faith. And they were doing that in England while Major General Ross comes and burns the city, and he's like very desperate as he stops and look at the city in the distance, burning and the smoke billowing over the city, and decide, well, I guess that's what I have to do. I have to do another Bank of the United States. And then within a year or two of this signing a peace treaty, and most of the historians will agree that this was war for nothing, over nothing. Nobody gained any territories, there was nothing exchanged, but in the end, nobody gained anything except the Rothschild got the second bank of the United States and their central bank. And so, they negotiate, and I think by 1816, Second Bank of the United States is put in place for a 20-year charter, and the stories continue as we go on. So I hope you enjoy it. This is a very quick story with very young and very nice characters, and just give you a lot of information. I hope you enjoy it. I really liked it for it's very concentrated and give you a ton of information. In a very nice and easy way. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much, and on to the next. Thank you. Bye.